I'm coming off a disappointing result in St. Louis. What sort of self-evaluating did you guys do and kind of see for the final 6 games of the year here?
I think this 10-day break has come at a good time. There were a lot of emotions after the St. Louis game. A lot of frustration and disappointment for sure. We certainly weren't at our best, and St. Louis did a very good job of taking care of business for their 3rd game in a week. So, to your point, I think we've had enough time to study and have a look at some of the things that were not right on the day. After being on a very, very good run, we've had a bit of time for rejuvenation and to get some of those tired legs in this very warm weather down here in the right place. And we've had plenty of time in terms of preparation for this important game on Tuesday.
You kind of mentioned that longer break. You guys have been, I guess, a little bit better when you've had that a little bit more rest this year, and even going back to last year too. Is that something that you feel like it's more time to prepare? Is it more time to rest because you have one of the smaller rosters, or?
Maybe a little bit of both. I do honestly think that there's an opportunity to study your opponent a little bit more and to layer maybe 1 or 2 other details into the game that you might not get time to do if you're turning around midweek especially. As far as the group, I think all players want to play. I don't think if you asked any of them that they really want to train, they just want to play. So when you're in a good run, those games coming round thick and fast are full of confidence and the players are buoyant. When you have a defeat, there's something different in that. It's nice to get back on track again and have a game to try and change that mentality. But I also think it gives you an opportunity to really, I think, digest what's gone on. We were in a very decent run and we put ourselves in a very good position. It was the 2nd occasion that we failed to win a game and take ourselves top, which for everyone was bitterly disappointing. So a few things came out of that. I think we're better for it. We've got 5 out of 6 at home. We're looking forward to that run. We've got some really tough games in there, and it starts with Tuesday. I mean, they're in a terrific vein of form themselves. I know they got beat by St. Louis last Friday, but they were 9 unbeaten before that, and I'm sure that Tommy will be looking desperately at getting a result against us and keeping their playoff push firmly on track.
What have you seen about them? They're basically a completely different team in terms of performances at this point in the year than they were very early in the year when you guys played them before. What has allowed them to kind of make those climbs?
I think maybe a combination of things since we last met them. I know they were suffering with some injuries, so 1 or 2 of those bodies are back. I think they've been able to secure the likes of Williams and Wright up front, who have given them a really good dimension. But I think also, we've had this last year. You end up in that second half of the season feeling more comfortable about the group that you're playing in, that you're working with, some of the aspects of the game that they've been trying to, maybe Tommy's been trying to enforce in the group, look like they're more natural. They've adapted when they needed to. They've played a 4-1-4-1 where they need to. The diamond has served them well when they've played that way, but just the natural feel of a group that have been together longer, and maybe some of the details of the systems they're playing are starting to show their face.
For your team, you've obviously been without Derek for most of the season. Now you've been without Daniel for a few games now. What is the update on those guys? Are you expecting to have Daniel and Derek back?
Yeah, we need to see how those guys are in the morning. They're both in a good place, far better than they were just maybe a week ago. And Daniel, I think, was more of a precaution than anything. He'd had some issues, in his groins, but it wasn't anything dramatic there. The downtime has done him the world of good, and he's back to a good place. Looked sharp in training. Derek's progressed nicely. He's physically he's in a much better place. You know, his injury is fully healed. There's no problems there, but you know, it's getting back into the sharpness and the swing of training every day, and his body being back to a professional soccer player rather than a professional socialiser. So.
In these last 6 games, do you kind of look at where the table stands now and kind of the opportunities that you have if you win them? Do you keep an eye on the table, or is it at this point where we have to look at the results and not worry about it?
I don't know whether the guys are as much. I'm sure they are. It's not something we talk about every day, but I think everyone needs to be reminded of, you know, what this final 6 games represents. It really does offer up the opportunity further down the line to have an advantage in some way, shape or form for longer, possibly, than some of the other teams, and it depends where we finish. The other aspect of it is that we've got 5 out of 6 at home, and I think we're all desperately keen to finish off the season on a really good note at home. Our away form's been terrific. We've got this glut of games at home to finish up. When we looked at it, when the schedule was first put out, I think we all looked and felt that would be brilliant. You know, we finish up in good confines and comfortable surrounds. But it comes with some added pressure now. You've got some very good teams coming into town, and of course the position we're in is still a precarious one for champions in the Eastern Conference, for top 4 finish, or even outside of that. And the only way that we can be assured of something more positive is to keep winning games, and certainly what we aim to do Tuesday.
You guys have been good at home, but very good on the road. Do you feel like 5 out of 6 to close the year is an opportunity to build some rhythm at first Tennessee and then Nissan, obviously?
Again, there's a couple of things here. The first one is, yes, there's some rhythm. I think we've been away from home back to back or on a trio of occasions that have presented its own problems. The field keep coming up and being put down at First Tennessee Park can sometimes be, I think, a detriment to the way that we want to play. At this point in time, with the baseball season over and just us occupying the stadium, it gives us a real opportunity to make that a home field advantage if it hasn't been so before. We'll get used to the field more. I'd like to get out there more and work on it more. You know, any advantage that we can have now for these last 5 games are going to be a help.